Who is football's greatest of all time, and who is football's best of all time? For me, the GOAT is legacy, trophies, records, longevity, what history remembers. The BOAT is ability, completeness, peak capability, technical range, adaptability. Say Messi, and half the world nods. Say Ronaldo, some people will say which one. Say Pelé, and someone brings up black and white footage like it was discovered in a tomb. Say Maradona, and Argentina enters the chat. But the BOAT, these two ideas are not always mutually exclusive. What happens when you strip away nostalgia, eras, systems, teammates, national identity? Sometimes a player's greatness is trapped inside a team that couldn't organize a sandwich. Best is not just goals, it's not just offense, and it's not just defense either. It's about how much of the match a player can bend around himself. Pelé won the World Cup in 1958, 1962, and 1970. A teenager who immediately made grown men look like they'd been hired as extras, making him the only player with 3 men's World Cup winners' medals. It's obvious that Pelé's GOAT case can never really die. He has the mythology, the trophies, the aura. He feels less like a player and more like the sport remembering its own childhood. And then there's Diego Maradona. Maradona doesn't have the cleanest resume, and he doesn't have the statistical volume of a Messi or a Cristiano, but Maradona has something almost nobody has: the argument for the single greatest tournament performance in football history. The 1986 World Cup. Maradona captained Argentina to victory, won the Golden Ball, and produced the goal of the century against England, while also producing the hand of God, because apparently subtlety wasn't available in Argentina that summer. Maradona's 1986 wasn't just a tournament, it was possession. He played football like the ball owed him money. He made defenders look like they were trying to catch smoke with garden tools. So, if GOAT is myth, Maradona is terrifying. Cristiano Ronaldo. Emotion of this can become dangerous, because there's a lot of people who hate Ronaldo who are just as unreasonable as a lot of the people who worship him. Ronaldo's career isn't hype. It is an avalanche. Champions League domination, international goal records, longevity, reinvention, aerial power, weak foot, penalties, free kicks, big stage obsession. Big time. UEFA lists Cristiano Ronaldo as the all-time top scorer in the Champions League and UEFA club competitions. His Champions League record also includes most goals, most appearances, most knockout stage goals, and most final wins. Young Ronaldo was a winger with tricks. Peak Ronaldo became a goal-scoring machine, while older Ronaldo became a penalty box predator who could still punish one bad defensive decision, like he insulted his ancestors. Ronaldo is absolutely in the GOAT's final room. But of course we have Lionel Messi. Messi's argument is different, because he's not just a scorer, or a creator, a dribbler, or a passer. He's all of those things at once. Messi has 8 Ballon d'Or awards, a World Cup, Champions League titles, and the kind of statistical profile that makes spreadsheet software quietly ask for a drink. Messi doesn't just score goals, he produces choices. Walk away for 30 seconds like he's thinking about groceries, and then ruin the entire back four like he remembered he was Lionel Messi. This is where the GOAT argument becomes difficult to escape. Maradona is the hardest one to cut for me. Maradona might have the highest single tournament aura and the magical World Cup story, but across country, production, longevity, individual awards, and sustained dominance, he's not in the final 3. Pelé. 3 World Cups is almost impossible to argue with. His name became global before football became the global commercial machine it is today. He was the king before the throne had television rights in every language. But era marks Pelé hard in this argument. The footage is different, the opposition structure is different, the club landscape is different, and the statistical record is debated. That's not an insult, it's just the reality of comparing mythology to modern documentation and analytics. Pelé is football royalty, but in this framework, I have him third. Number 2, Cristiano Ronaldo. If football greatness were built from obsession alone, Ronaldo might win by technical knockout. The international goal record, 5 Ballon d'Ors, the goals in England, Spain, Italy, Saudi Arabia, and Portugal. The fact that he kept reinventing himself while most players were becoming assistant coaches, whatever you might think of him personally. He never was football's most complete artist, but he might have been football's most relentless production machine. Talent, obsession, ego, and he built a career that will take decades to fully process. But to settle the first part of our argument, the GOAT of football, not in question for me, Lionel Messi. The World Cup didn't create Messi's GOAT case. It removed the last crowbar people were using to pry it open. Messi is football's GOAT. Not because the argument is emotionally easy, but because he combines scoring, playmaking, dribbling, longevity, trophies, individual trophies, international redemption, inspiration to his teammates, not the least of which, and the highest level of football imagination I've ever seen. Pelé is the king, Ronaldo is the machine, Maradona is the myth, but Messi is the answer. Now the pool changes. The GOAT is what history remembers, but the boat is what the game demands. Same conditions, same boots, same pitches, same medicine, same training, same prime. Who gives you the most complete football problem? A team of Messis? A team of Ronaldos? A team of Pelés? Because now we're not just counting trophies, we're measuring football capability. Steven Gerrard does belong in this section. Not because he'll end up being football's boat. He's certainly not the best footballer of all time. But the reason he makes the list is because Steven Gerrard might just represent the boat stress test. Because if the best of all time means coverage, if it means how many parts of a match one player can touch, Gerrard becomes harder to dismiss. He could pass, tackle, shoot from distance, drive forward, lead, cover ground, defend, carry emotion, and change a game from midfield, seemingly at will. Gerrard wasn't the cleanest tactician, but he did have a rare quality. Steven Gerrard could grab a match by the collar and drag it to victory. Gerrard spent a decade as an ambulance for a Liverpool team tilting at windmills, and by the time the cavalry finally arrived, the Scouser had already fought the battles that led there. He's not my boat, but he's exactly why the boat conversation is more interesting than just asking who scored the most goals. Zidane is football calm under glass. He was never the fastest or the most statistically explosive, but he controlled the emotional temperature of matches like few others could. First touch, balance, vision, big game composure, for the most part.
And he leaves his team in big trouble.
Zidane never seemed to play like he was under pressure. He played like pressure had asked him permission to enter the room. But he's not at the top of my list. His boat case is more control than total output. Ronaldo Nazário, like a great player in my favorite sport of ice hockey, Bobby Orr, before the injuries, before the knee surgeries, before a career became a story of what might have been, Ronaldo was terrifying. Explosive acceleration, balance, strength, dribbling at speed. R9's boat argument is simple. At his peak, he may have been the most unstoppable forward ever. Not the greatest career, not the longest dominance, but the peak. Because this is the part of the argument where we stop counting trophies and start measuring capability. Ronaldo absolutely belongs in the boat conversation. If you need goals, Ronaldo is one of the best answers the sport has ever produced. Even if some of his antics in ice hockey would get his ass kicked by his own team, Ronaldo is still one of the greatest finishers ever, one of the greatest athletes ever. But boat isn't just about goals. And if factoring in toughness, well, you get the idea. Nazário. If the question were simply who was the most terrifying striker at peak, the argument against him is pretty hard. His acceleration was ridiculous. His dribbling was direct, his finishing cold, and his balance was unnatural. He didn't just run past defenders. He made them look like they were being rendered at a lower frame rate. But the best of all time is not just striker perfection, it's total football. Basketball? Is it Jordan? Is it LeBron? Are they GOATs, boats? What about Kareem? But in football here, Messi might be both. Because Messi doesn't just have the career, he has the skill set. And he made it work to this day. He's not only the greatest story, he may also be the most complete attacking footballer ever. He gives you elite scoring, creating, dribbling, decision-making, passing, free kicks, balance, football IQ. He does it without needing to physically dominate you. To say he wasn't the biggest guy out there is an understatement. Ronaldo might beat you with power, R9 with explosion, Maradona can beat you with chaos and genius, but Messi beats you with inevitability. He turns the game into a math problem where every answer is somehow Argentina. 10 Lionel Messis on one team becomes a crime scene. 10 Ronaldos might hurt you in the moment, but 10 Messis will remove your permission to have the ball. This is where Steven Gerrard becomes interesting, because 10 Gerrards might look more like an actual functional football team than 10 versions of most legends. Gerrard could run, tackle, shoot, pass, cover, lead. 10 Gerrards wouldn't be the prettiest team, but they would be horrible to play against. But against 10 Messis, the Lionels still win. Not every time, but most of the time. Come on, nobody's perfect. And we're talking about Steven fucking Gerrard. I try to be as objective as I can, but come on folks, my mom's from Liverpool. The truth is, Messi beats any collection of these other players hands down.
It's enthralling.
Because football is ultimately about controlling space, time, and choices, and Messi controls all three. Defenders don't really attack Messi. They just participate in whatever story he's telling at the moment. So that's where I land. Lionel Messi, number 10, is the GOAT and the boat. Pelé is the king, Maradona is the myth, Cristiano Ronaldo is the machine, but Messi is the most complete historical case. Because unlike some sports where the greatest career and the best players split apart, football might just give us a case where they come back together. There's been players who've won more than expected, as well as players who were more talented than expected. Messi somehow managed to be both. The GOAT is what history remembers. The boat is what the game demands. Sometimes these are different people, sometimes greatness and best separate cleanly. But in football, I think that the greatest player ever might also be the best. And that's why Lionel Messi is the most dangerous answer. Messi is the GOAT because of what he achieved. Messi is the boat because of what he could do. When the numbers are finished talking and the arguments run out of breath, both roads, to me at least, seem to lead back to the same